Hi, this is the Tempter Podcast, Innovation at the Edge with Open Source. Today we're going to look back on 2025, talk about what we did, some things we've observed and experienced. So, hi Khem, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you, Cliff.
So, 2025 was another good year, and in technology, a lot has changed, a lot of new opportunities, yeah, a lot of things kind of shifting. Probably the biggest thing we observed was the AI has really taken hold in code generation and in a lot of other automation. So, what are your thoughts looking back on how has AI changed your life, Khem?
Yeah, I think it's interesting, in the sense when we started, probably, I maintain a lot of scripts, a lot of automation through scripts, a lot of um, you know uh, maintenance tasks that I do, and that's kind of my version of AI, which was kind of acting on my behalf through um, maybe some sort of um, I would say like limited, brain power that I was offloading there, and they were being triggered, at certain points, some workflows, and I think I was watching it very carefully and very interestingly. A lot of things, especially in coding area, developed over in 2025 and
Mm-hmm.
very rapidly got adopted, and then developed even more and became good at stuff.
Yeah.
So I think probably you'll talk about more on the tools side of things, but some of those command line based approaches are very, very fundamental, because a lot of developers associate heavily to the terminal, and having chat boxes are fine, but if you can be alongside on the terminal with the developer, that is far more productive. And
Yes,
I
I
think
agree.
that probably has been a thing that I observed towards the end of this 2025, that's become possibility from all these big LLM um, counterparts, that there was a command line agent that was being made available. So yeah, a lot has happened. I mean, I've adopted my ways of utilizing them as a supporter. So I delegate certain tasks to it, um, and try to prompt it in doing things I want. I don't
Mm-hmm.
use it in agentic mode, but I use it as a co software developer. Who basically takes something, does some work
Mm-hmm.
that I can audit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really amazing if we think back. A lot of things came to life in 2025, like Claude Code. I believe that was introduced in early 2025.
Hmm.
And if you'd asked me at the start of the year, like is AI coding going to be a thing, I was very skeptical. But what happened was I was working with a young engineer at one of my clients, and he was really pushing the AI coding thing with Cursor at the time. So I kind of decided, well, I need to see what's going on here, and just to be able to keep up with this young guy.
Mm.
So I tried different things, but eventually I landed on Claude Code. And again, this is just a terminal application, so there's no IDE or anything. You basically run it in the terminal, and you tell it to do stuff, and it's running commands like ls and grep and tree and awk and sed, and it's it's pretty low level, and it's just doing
Mm.
Unixy stuff right on the terminal, much more advanced than anything I'd ever do. So, it's super good at writing Bash scripts or Ansible scripts,
Mm.
Dockerfiles. I mean, stuff like that. It can just do amazingly well, get it right the first time.
Yeah.
Whereas writing a bash script for me to get it right the first time is a pretty rare thing, because it's kind of a tedious language to program in. Um, but yeah, it seemed like that went real well. And then or I'd say the last quarter of the year, with the new models, with Opus 4.5 from Anthropic and the latest Gemini and OpenAI models, I think the consensus in the industry is we really kind of turned the curve on AI coding,
Mhm.
and these models are getting pretty good. So I found them really useful.
Yeah.
It's and one thing I really enjoy doing is using it for things other than coding, like my daily newsletter, my daily blog. I use AI to proofread it, to automatically add the emoji, add tags, and I even use it now to generate images, a little diagram with each post.
Yeah.
And it generates the diagram in draw.ao format, so they're pretty consistent from post to post, the style and everything.
Hmm.
And yeah, I could talk a long time, and I think we want to do a dedicated episode just on AI coding in the future. So I should probably just be quiet.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I could go on a long time with.
Yeah, I think you've done a lot. I've seen you kind of like utilize it, as a productivity tool in very different capacities and in a very unique ways. And I read a lot about how people are using it or doing things with it, and so what I've seen you do from close quarters is quite unique, I think. And there might be some things in there for folks to learn. And your comment about scripts is something that I utilize too, because a lot of times I basically automate a certain task immediately,
Mhm,
and that is not gone. I just basically don't do that anymore. I
mhm.
just delegate it, and I get like pretty good scripts to do that little thing I wanted to do, and then I
Yeah.
just put it on the side and let it run. And
Mhm.
I think it has freed up a lot of that time to do other things, which are
Yeah.
more, they require more attention.
Mhm.
So I think there certainly is a shift in the focus that I've observed in my day-to-day work.
Yeah. One thing I did create, which I'll just mention here, is a Claude Code plugin called Doc-Driven Development. And over the year, I've kind of settled on a flow where I write the docs, I have Claude write the plan, I review the plan, and then I have Claude generate the code from that. So, yeah, you can look that up. I'll leave a link in the show notes. But
Mm.
doc-driven development
Yeah.
is a workflow that, because one thing, we kind of look at AI as a new compiler. So if you have a compiler, it's very important to have the inputs to the compiler captured, because if you
Yeah.
want to change something, you want to change the inputs, not just recreate the inputs. And that's why I feel like versioning the documents and the plan, and then having the AI tool run from that versus just kind of randomly prompting
Hmm.
is important if you're doing code generation.
Right. Yeah. um So, what are the other things that you observed in 2025 besides AI?
Yeah, we did a lot with Zephyr, so that's
Mhm.
been a very pleasant experience. And again, Zephyr, this all kind of dovetails together, but Zephyr works amazingly well with AI for several reasons. One, it's a command line driven workflow. Secondly, the Zephyr core code and all the BSPs are just Git repos right alongside your application code. They're all in different repos, and they have a tool called Wes that organizes everything. But the important thing is all the context is there in an easy to navigate, easy to find way.
Mhm.
So instead of like asking a cloud thing, Zephyr questions and it kind of has to just go off cloud information, it can actually look at the entire context of your Zephyr build, all of the source code, and do a much better job at figuring things out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the biggest problems with AI is context. How do you give it context? And if you work in an environment where the context is easily accessible, then it
Yeah.
will do a much better job. And Zephyr is that versus a GUI-driven MCU development tool where the core stuff is hidden off somewhere in
Mm-hmm.
some obscure directory where the developer doesn't even know where it is, let alone the AI tool.
Right. Yeah.
So,
So yeah, I think so. Zephyr is probably heading towards what I said was, nobody will write any more RATAs
mhm.
anymore.
Yeah, it will be the
So,
standard. Very confident in that. So,
yeah. So
yeah,
probably 2026 will just stamp it even more, hopefully.
yeah. And if you know, I probably err a little too far this way, but MCUs are so cheap, you can easily buy an MCU for very little money that'll run Zephyr. So why
Mhm.
not? Is
Yeah.
my yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I think we added uh, Jetson support to your distro.
Hmm.
And that's been a very pleasant experience as well. It's quite complex BSP if you look at it, but it's done well. So we basically were able to integrate that into as a one of the reference platforms um, into your distro, and not only integrate that but also add the OTA, which is swap date based. So that was like a very good experience to see it. There were a few changes in between where the formats changed, and some of the um, swap date content needed to be placed here and there. But those were minor. If you stayed on tip of the tree, then getting those changes, adapting yourself wasn't a big deal.
Hmm.
And I think the reason why it wasn't because Yo is a rolling release model, and we basically experienced these problems way before. If you were a time-based release, then there might be a lot of things that built on top, so the change might not be as simple. But at least
Hmm.
for us, what I saw was it was a small change in the stride. And yeah, I think uh, being able to run a lot of workloads. I've done some comparisons with like other operating systems, and it has stood tall. And um, your distro generated workloads have been impeccable performant. And we even shifted to use bring your own kernel. So essentially we were not
Hmm.
using the kernel that comes with the L4T. We just started using upstream kernel
Yeah.
based on Linux Yocto, and that worked flawlessly as well for moving forward. So yeah, it's pretty good. um,
Yeah, it just
Thanks a
seems
lot.
like the Metategra works well with
Hmm.
the Yo rolling release model because Metategra they keep the tip pretty good shape and
Yeah.
an upstream first type
Yeah. Yeah, that's so
development
true.
methodology. So yeah, really encourage that workflow.
Yeah.
I listened to a talk with a kernel developer the other day,
Hmm.
Greg. I forget his last name, but anyway, he's the maintainer of the stable branches, and he said we don't accept any changes into the stable branch unless they land in upstream first.
Mm.
And I just thought that was a very interesting point that that's the that's the way to do things so you're
Mm.
sure things make it upstream and they don't get dropped or you don't face this
Yeah.
huge mountain of technical debt later trying to push things upstream. So
Yeah. So yeah, I think try it out. Like we do have Nano as well. as well as
Mhm.
AGX Orion. So both of them, they work well. And perhaps, when the new board we get hands on Thor, we might
Yeah.
add that too.
Yeah, so Kim mentioned we have swapdate, so that's a way to update, just copy an image to the device, run swapdate, it'll
Hmm.
reboot, update itself, so that way we have built-in update functionality. We also have it set up with a classic rootfs and then separate data partition. So the idea is the data partition never gets touched, but we continually update the rootfs partitions. So that's something
Hmm.
you'll probably need if you're going to build a product, but that's something that Khem has already figured out and set up, and
Yep.
it's ready to go.
Yeah, I think these things are something that should be in the backbone rather not a afterthought.
Hmm. Yeah,
OTA should be the first thing you lay down along with
right.
your other infrastructures. So
Yeah, proper partitioning and
yeah,
and so on.
they are very hard to change. Even later in the development stages, let alone in the field.
Right.
So um,
So while we're on Yo, we may as well finish going over that. But one thing we started doing is migrating to CAS. So
mhm.
we had a new contributor that did most of the CAS development for us, and it's looking really good. So
Yep.
we're hoping to be a little more mainstream with supporting CAS workflows in the
Yeah.
near future.
Yeah. And I think it kind of dovetailed nicely into our project approach. And
Hmm.
it kind of provides more structure, even though, like, the project-based approach was still using a shellish um, syntax, so it still had some structure to it. But CAS gives you a lot better way to represent, your overall project definitions, and and the way it inherits things. You can create like common pieces, and then build a project fairly quickly and inherit an existing project into a newer project pretty quickly. So I think it really was that I was seeing that there is a one-to-one translation here, and I'm using it these days. Work, and um, and yeah, I think it's basically here to stay. I think it's essentially, maybe the project-based approach will abandon in future. Hopefully, when
Yeah.
everybody starts using CAS and nobody remembers the project-based approach. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it served us well, but we're looking forward to a more composable
mhm.
experience with Yo to be
Yep.
able to easily integrate with the stuff
Yeah.
that you're
And one of
doing.
the
So,
things we do with Yo is we always want to, integrate things that are best,
mhm.
that are kind of being used widely in the community, and we
Yeah,
want to know why they are, and if they fit the Yo philosophy and it comes in, so we just don't shy away from that sort of changes if need be. So
right. Yeah, it's designed to be a good template, a good starting point for
mhm.
real product development.
Right.
This isn't demoware.
Yeah.
This is what you want, a good saying defaults and good tooling. So that's what we strive for.
Yeah. So you did a lot of work on tool side, not only in 2025, you always do, but in 2025, there were, few tools that we adopted that, you know, to enhance our workflows, but then there were tools that you wrote
Hmm.
to fulfill your workflows. So talk through those, and then we'll go over, what the experiences were.
Yeah, I would say as far as tools I started using, Helix was the big one for me. I can't remember if I started that before, but the Helix text editor, it's similar to Vim in that it's a command, separate command and authoring modes. The It's largely compatible, but there's a few differences where they try to make it a little more intuitive. But Helix has been a great experience. I highly recommend it if you want a Vim-like experience, but just a little less setup. It comes out of the box working just pretty well. The customizations you need are very small, And what really made this possible was the proliferation of language servers. So before, it would take a lot of custom tooling to support each language, and everybody did things differently. But with the standardization of language servers, Helix has gone all in on that. So all you need is language servers, and then everything just works. So it's been a good thing. The other tool I've started using is the YADM file manager. So this builds on top of Git, and it just has a little bit of nice things that make it nice for managing your dot files. So as far as new tools off the shelf, have you picked up anything, Ken?
Yeah, I think Helix certainly.
Hmm.
I've been toying around with that, and my take was, I need to open huge files,
Yeah.
and I was looking for something that is not a simple notepad, but it's kind of a rich editor, and I can run a lot of commands.
Hmm.
And I used to use NVim, and I had, like, as you said, like a lot of plugins,
Yeah.
to work with it, and a lot of like and all those plugins are awesome. But when you have like these huge files, and it will take like ton of time to open them, or sometimes it
Yeah.
won't even open. So Helix kind of gave me that. That was one way I started using it, and then
Yeah.
um,
Instant startup. Right.
yeah, and then I've been kind of um, used to it by now, where my aliases for VI are pointing to Helix now.
Oh,
So
that's a big step.
yeah, so because I think you have like uh, muscle memory, and you end
Hmm.
up typing whatever editor you have in your mind. So I just created a alias to point to Helix. So
Yeah.
at this point of time, I think it's a done deal.
Yeah. Yeah, a couple other honorable mentions. I'll just throw out the Yazzie file manager. That's
Mhm.
incredible. Lazy Git is amazing,
Yep.
and of course ZeliJ. We've probably talked about these in previous
Yeah.
podcasts, but
Still continuing with them. Yeah.
yeah, this stack of tools really makes for a very fast and
Yeah.
efficient terminal
Yeah.
development environment.
And I started using new shell, right? So
Okay.
new is very interesting. I'm still a toddler, so I
Hmm.
don't have it as my default shell yet. I'm still starting to play with it. So I play with it sometimes, get stuck, and move back to Z shell.
Hmm.
That's the stage I'm in. So I don't have much to share as of now.
Yeah, I'm a laggard in that space. So new
Yeah.
shell is the one where everything's like a table output, and then that makes
Everything.
it
Yep.
super easy to parse it
Yeah.
and pipe it into new tools and all that. Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
neat.
Especially, I think, with the AI, you need to process kind of like data,
Hmm.
kind of outputs. It's super cool.
Yeah,
Um, but it doesn't have the syntax compatibility,
right.
with Bash or other shells. So that's kind of a jump. But yeah, I'm trying to kind of see if I can have a mechanism to, still invoke. Maybe once we kind of start using CAS, I don't need any
Hmm.
Bash or ZSH anymore as much as I do now. So
Yeah, because our current Yo workflow is very dependent on a huge
hmm
Bash script,
yeah,
that does a lot. So yeah.
correct. So then you wrote some tools as well. So and I think we'll reserve your experiences of using AI for them, but let's talk about what those tools were. And I think,
Yeah.
and then I'll also say I'm user of them as well, some of them.
Yeah. So the big one for me was a tool called brun, and
Mhm.
brun is it's kind of like GitHub Actions or Ansible, but it's designed to run local workflows without containers. And you may ask, like, oh, why would you want to do that? Containers are the future. But when you're building Yocto images, you don't necessarily want containers. You want to just simply leverage the power of your workstation sitting under your desk. And there just didn't seem to be a good way to really just run a native workflow in kind of a configurable way. So I created brun, and it's a YAML config. It looks a lot like GitHub Actions or Ansible, and it has a bunch of tasks, and you chain these tasks together. There's a success, and always, and a failure action at the end of each task, and then you could chain that to the next task. So tasks are kind of chained. So I use it currently to run my Yocto builds for a number of different platforms. And then it has an email task where it'll email me the results. And also we have it connected with notify.shell. And that way I can get notifications on my phone as well.
And I'm a user of it. And, because how it helps me is, a lot of times there are patches that I queue up. And obviously, I need to test them and do other stuff with them before I push them out to CI and other things. So I have brun sitting there watching my repository, and
Mm-hmm.
when I make the change, it starts the build behind the scenes, and then I can leave my desktop or keep working on that one, and then email pops up
Mm-hmm.
saying, "Oh, it succeeded," and then this is like super helpful for me. Essentially to vet out the changes pretty quickly. And
Yeah.
what I've seen is, these little things, they basically clutter your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Every step you take away, is a huge benefit
Yeah.
for concentrating on the task at hand. So right now, for example, I don't worry about build at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I just keep editing, keep changing, and then I'm done. I push it to a local branch or something, and then it's watching that and it builds it.
Yeah.
And then it's something you might say it's one command less, but the amount of cognitive switch you do
Mm-hmm.
is huge, because sometimes you're running to fetch some groceries or something, which could be an hour, but then you forgot to run your command, and
Yeah. Now you're an hour behind. So
yeah, an hour behind. And these builds are long sometimes, depending upon the
yeah.
changes. So now all that is gone. I just get it.
Yeah.
So,
You don't carry the context in your head now. Like, do I
mhm,
need to go back and check if that build
yep,
succeeded or not? And
exactly. So it's
one of
a
the
huge change for me, actually.
yeah, that's great to hear. It's working for you.
Hmm.
So one of the little bit of polishes we added was, like, when we email, we can specify we want to send the last 30 lines of the log.
Right.
And because we have success and failure outputs, like for brun, if it succeeds, I just send a success message. I don't want the log
Hmm.
cluttering up my brun notification, my notify shell notifications. But if it fails, I want to see the last 30 lines of the log to know what failed. So those are just like the little things you can do
Yeah.
to really streamline and make efficient the notifications and stuff you're getting.
Yeah.
So
Awesome. So I think you wrote another tool called HFID. Um, what
yeah,
is HFID?
so HFID is kind of an idea on how to tag equipment, or really anything where you want to be able to visualize easily, quickly and easily identify it in the field. And what we've learned over time with various IoT projects is, like a 2D barcode or something. You can't just go look at a device in the field and say, yep, that's it. So the HFID is basically two sets of three characters. So it might be like AY6-ZAB, and these are random. And if you put a HFID on everything you produce and you deploy, it's just a very quick way to see, to match things up. If you have a portal and you're trying to match a device to the portal, or if you're installing equipment and you know that this device needs to go here, you can quickly pull it out of your box of stuff that you're going to install. So anyway, it was just kind of a little thing I needed for one of my customers, and it's um, it's now a website. Anybody can use it. It has an API. Just sign up and generate your HFIDs, even for lab equipment and things like that. I can see a lot of uses.
Hmm. Yeah, and so moving on to some more tools. I think the doc-driven tools, I guess, that's probably another AI tool that you basically written for facilitating AI development.
Yeah, the doc-driven development Claude Code plugin. So we mentioned that a little bit earlier with the Claude
Yeah,
AI coding, but yeah, that's another
yeah,
tool that I use every day now. And
yeah. We'll talk about it in some of the future episodes. I think it's very interesting.
yeah,
So other things around your toolings, around your desktops or your, so I know that I played with tiling desktops,
hmm
and I played with Hyperland on Arch, um, and I've stuck with it.
yeah,
And I'm not going away from KDE at all, but on some of my machines, which are more not like laptop-ish, I'm still they are pretty static, like desktop or something that don't change. I'm using it. I started using it just for as a thin layer on my build machine, for example,
hmm
because I
yeah,
didn't want to spend 1 or 2 gigabytes of RAM just running a fancy you know environment that I'm not using actively, and so I started using it, and it's pretty fancy actually, with like
hmm
very less memory. And
So let me get this right. So Amachi or Hyperland uses less memory than KDE.
yeah,
Oh wow, okay,
quite less.
yeah,
So I mean, of course, you have your applications which are the ones which take the most, but
hmm
depending on what you do, like if you're opening Alacrity shell and terminal and a few other things and a browser, then browser will be like the one that'll take the most memory, and doesn't
yeah,
matter which VM you are on.
yeah,
But if you are doing a build, you don't have a browser on it, usually. So it's good to kind of have that memory saved for running the builds,
hmm
and at the same time have some access on the screen as well. So
yeah,
um, but it's been a good experience. I've played with tiling desktops in the past, like i3, all that, but
hmm
this one was the longest I've kept around, and I think I'm still playing with it. It's right now, I would say it's like more common for me than KDE is, so I use it
hmm
more, but I use both of them interchangeably
sure,
depending on which computer I'm on.
yeah. And that's a nice thing with Arch Linux is you can just select on login
Hmm.
which environment you want to use. So it's a nice OS to transition or try different things, and then you can gradually transition over time.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about this Amachi uh,
Mm.
distro. It was started by DHH
Hmm.
in 2025, and this is a significant event for Arch Linux
Hmm.
because it really put Arch on the map as a viable alternative to Mac OS for just your standard software developer.
Hmm.
And they've
Yeah.
really, I'm on subscribed to the release emails for Amachi, and it is just amazing the level of development
Yeah.
that's gone into this. There's a lot of contributions.
Yeah.
So I tried it for a while. I just installed it on top of my laptop, Arch existing Arch distribution. It worked, but it's pretty opinionated,
Yeah.
and they it probably isn't the best fit for an experienced Linux developer who already has opinions on how things should be.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
then I would probably advise just go with straight Hyperland and
yeah,
skip the Amachi. But if you're new to Linux, I think Amachi would be a good way to get started in Linux.
yeah, yeah.
So,
I think that's a good suggestion there. I didn't try it actively, like but I think if you install it fresh, I think it gives you that opinionated
mhm.
environment, right? But if you try to kind of take a vanilla Arch distribution and then try to kind of slap it on top yourself, I mean, I don't know how that will, because it's a full experience, right? So
Yeah.
it has a very different purpose than somebody who is kind of cobbling together their distribution like I do.
Yeah,
So
it wants to take over, and it has
yeah,
opinions on how things should be done. So
correct.
it's kinda like
Yeah.
Rails. I mean, DHH did both of them. They're both very opinionated, good at what
Hmm.
they do, but
Yeah.
you do things their way, you know, so
Yeah. So if you're a user of Linux, and I think it's a fantastic distro for that. Like you
Mhm.
do something using Linux, right? It just unleashes the power of Linux to you
Yeah,
behind the scenes in a very polished way.
right.
And I think I really think that's a void that it is filling in very nicely. So,
Yeah.
but tiling desktops are back. That's
Mhm.
awesome.
Yeah, and Hyperland is pretty neat.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's um, remains to be seen, but I think there are a lot of Arch-based distros out there too, and I'm just thinking that the rolling release is rolling as well
Mhm.
into future.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we'll
the
see.
other change, we don't have it on our list here, but we've been running Arch on one of our main servers,
Yeah,
and that's been a really nice experience, so
yeah,
continues to
yeah.
go well. Had one little hiccup, but took me 15 minutes to fix. Other than that,
Hmm.
it's it's been great.
Yeah, and that's the good thing about those hiccups. I think they are small and they are manageable. Then we are good, I
Mhm.
guess. And maybe a little bit of backup for the configuration. If you kind of like partition the system well, all your important data is kind of not on the machine. Perhaps it is
Yeah.
on a different partition or something like that. I guess that goes a long way. But you would do those kind of things with any distro, I would imagine. So
Yeah, and you really want it scripted with Ansible or something so that you
mhm,
can rebuild the machine in a half a day if you need to.
yeah.
Anything else, I've never had a cloud machine fail on me yet, like a Linode or DigitalOcean,
Hmm.
knock on wood, but, if it does, everything's in Ansible, and we can rebuild it in half an hour and
Hmm.
or I mean, half a day and be up and running, so you don't wanna you don't want golden machines, so that's
Oh yeah.
yeah.
So some of the habits that we developed is writing dailies,
Mhm.
and I think you hooked me onto it, and
Yeah, how's
um,
that been going for you, Cam?
it's been going well. I mean, while we speak, I haven't done it for the past couple of days, but that's been just 2 days in. I've had almost 280 plus
Mhm.
posts, so I think that's not bad. I didn't take it too harsh on me that that I would write it. I'll take it a day at a time, and
Yeah.
it's become like a good habit. And regardless if I don't publish or I publish, I still write. So
Mhm.
that's actually really a good habit, and I think it also provides some clarity on larger topics.
Yeah.
So I process thoughts around developer productivity, technical debt, around physical AI, and I think over days you get a lot more crystal clear ideas about how we are thinking about it. So I think it's a self-learning tool for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I've really enjoyed reading your posts over the last year,
Hmm.
and, yeah, we started this in 2024, so we've managed to hold this practice all through 2025, which
Yeah,
is a good accomplishment,
yeah. I think you
and
started a bit ahead of me, and then I think I kind of joined a bit
yeah,
later.
not much. July and
Yeah,
August is what I'm seeing here,
yeah,
so of 2024, but Yes, some people are very hesitant to subscribe to a daily email newsletter, but these are quick reads, a couple minutes, and I would categorize these as mostly inspiration. Like when I read Khem's posts, I it's inspiring, gives me a little bit to think about. It's not really something that consumes my time, and they're also good conversation. Like
Yeah,
if like I'm subscribed to probably a dozen email newsletters from people I really like their ideas. And one thing that's really neat is if you just reply to them, people really appreciate that, getting a little bit of feedback. It's
yeah,
it's not a burden. I've really gotten to know some really neat people this way. And it seems like it's a much more there's more depth than just like messaging something on LinkedIn where there's so much noise and you know you
mm.
it's a little bit deeper uh,
Engagement. Yeah,
engagement, but yet it's not time consuming. It's very very
yeah,
low time commitment. Again, I feel these are mostly inspirational thoughts versus like deep study thoughts. It's just like, oh yeah, that's
yeah,
how can I do that? So
yeah. I think that's well put, and hope to continue it. I think, as I said, like it's kind of processing
hmm
your own thoughts as well. So I think it's a good practice that I'm very proud of.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. If anybody's interested, we'd love to have more subscribers and more
yeah,
feedback on what we're thinking about.
yeah,
So check it out.
and start your dailies too.
Right. Let us know where they're at, and I
Yeah,
will subscribe.
yeah. Um, so I think there was, BSPs in embedded Linux is always an interesting topic, and there's been always that talk about how vendor kernels and vendor this and vendor that,
hmm
and so what progress did you see in 2025 in embedded Linux BSPs?
Yeah, I've probably the thing that I'm most glad for or thankful to see is a number of people came out and really encouraged people to clean up the BSPs. There's been presentations at large conferences. There's been posts on LinkedIn. There's been other communications. I know several of our guests on the Tempter podcast last year talked about this very thing, BSP quality,
Mhm.
and it really came out strong. The struggles people are having with these BSPs that are forked off old versions of Yocto, don't get updated, and
Yeah,
really the industry is recognizing the necessity that vendors keep up. They do them upstream first, and really help their customers by keeping up with recent releases. Anyway, you're much tighter integrated. What have you seen? Or
yeah, I think it's certainly, I mean, call outs from folks who are shipping products, right? So it's
hmm
something that you do today, right? And then you feel like, okay, we basically released it on whatever the current LTS is. And but what happens is, like, literally by the time somebody ships a product out of it, it's probably a year later or something like that. So the activity in a lot of them ceases the moment the release is made.
yeah,
um, and that's where I think it starts to get stale. And then they ship it, and then suddenly they need some CVE fixes or stuff from, or maybe a kernel bump or other things, and now they don't have it. If it is there, it's not tested, or if they do it on their own. So um, if, like, the more of upstream first approach happened, then you would basically have a very different roadmap for supporting this, and it just percolates down the chain. So I think the product lines that are way behind, they will not be. because there is one less thing for them to worry about.
Yeah.
And what happens is, like, technical debt, I call it, that gets collected over time, right? So it's not just BSPs, but when you are putting a product together at the very end, they are basically a aggregator of everybody's technical debt.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
sometimes we kind of falsely accuse them of, like, say, why are you shipping that board with that old blah and old this? But the problem is they are dependent upon their supply chain, which is feeding them,
Hmm.
that piece of component. And so I think I see that as a reflection of the process.
Yeah.
And it is improving, in certain cases. There's been a call out on one of the Yocto project dev days about BSPs, exactly in the same vein and with examples.
Hmm.
So, and then some suggestions on to, like, hey, how you could kind of help out here, because, certainly um, there will be problems when you do this, right? So, but I guess if you figure out a process, that goes a long way. So, more awareness, I think, compared to 2024, certainly
Yeah.
in this area, and a recognition of this also from, a lot of participants in the community, into, say, hey, let's not generate this technical debt. What can we do to not do it? So I think we are starting this year in a good footing, that hopefully 2026 will see a lot better
Yeah.
in this area.
Yeah, this one change I feel could make a huge difference for Yocto as being a
Mm.
more viable
Yeah,
solution
yeah,
for product development. And
yeah.
it's really nice that the people actually building products, their voices are starting to be heard
Hmm.
versus just the vendors providing the Linux support. It's a different game,
Yeah.
and that's what I've done for the last 20 years. So I felt the pain
Mm.
definitely.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's um, the attention hopefully results into some actions in
Right.
2026, is my summary.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, is there
Yeah.
anything else you'd like to share from?
No, I think that was 2025 in nutshell, and it's been a good year in terms of all the great things we learned a lot, and hopefully 2026 will be in similar vein. So
Yeah, yeah. Wish you the best, and all our listeners appreciate you listening, sharing feedback, and please reach out if you have any thoughts. So,
thank you.
thank you.